welcome to yet another episode of NewsX Influencer A-List. This week, we talk to the influencers that are responsible for getting a smile to our faces with their witty, quirky and relatable content. Our first guest is the well-known comedian Aditi Mittal, followed by the teen sensation Agastya Shah, and last but not the least, that Indian chick, or Gigi, as the internet loyally calls her. Listen in.
Taking digital stand-up comedy to new heights.
It's one of the very few art forms that requires a very specific reaction.
She's starting conversations that matter.
The idea that you have to evoke this very specific reaction is where the challenge, I think, in comedy lies.
NewsX Influencer A-List proudly recognizes Aditi Mittal for influence in digital stand-up comedy. Hello and welcome. You're joining us on NewsX Influencer A-List. I'm Parati Bhanot, and with us today is Aditi Mittal. Now, Aditi is a comedian. She in fact specializes in the art of making people laugh, which, Aditi, like we were just discussing, is so challenging, right? Because it's one of the most difficult things. It's one of the most difficult art forms to make people laugh. How do you do it?
By having a lot of personal tragedy and by learning to process it through the lens of comedy. Pardi, the one reason that people say that comedy is so difficult to do or to perform because it's one of the very few art forms that requires a very specific reaction.
Yeah.
That the idea is to only make someone laugh, right? Whereas other art forms, a drama film or or a horror film, if it makes you smile occasionally, great. If it scares you, even better. The idea that you have to evoke this very specific reaction is where the challenge, I think, in comedy lies. And it's the most beautiful challenge.
How many years has it taken you, to master this challenge, to master this art form? You said that you started 10 years ago. You started earning from comedy. What has that been like? How long did it take you to be a professional, as we call you now?
So, actually, I happen to be one of those, I'm humble enough to admit that I was at the right place at the right time. I don't think I would have been sort of making money out of comedy as soon as I did, because I started 10 years ago. I started making money about 7 years ago. I also think that because my career and my growth as a comedian coincided with the growth of comedy and the internet at the same time. In India, and I happen to just be at that intersection, which is why I got this chance to grow and make it my living. As far as me becoming a master, I feel like I don't want to be a master of anything till I am dead. Then I want everybody to retrospectively remember me as like what a master of a craft. But till then, I want to keep learning. I think I want to keep growing, and I want to keep surprising my audience and people who watch me.
So very interesting. When, we say comedy, we often think about stage shows, right? We often think about performing in front of an audience. That, of course, has changed over the past 2 years because of COVID, right? That COVID has been one factor. But also the other is that a lot of comedians now are garnering attention when it comes to OTT platforms as well. What is that like for you? You were just telling me that you have 2 such shows on Netflix. What is that like?
So, again, as I said, the coinciding of the growth of the internet and then the introduction of OTTs and what they were doing in terms of putting out content, right? Earlier, there were stand-up comedians who would tour their whole life, who would be on the road, going from city to city to city, country to country to country, doing show after show after show. And there would be really no place to output to be able to reach a larger audience. That has changed drastically in the past sort of decade or so, because we have YouTube and then we have these OTT platforms where, you can polish what you have and put it out there for not only an audience that would, be confined by, I'm only going to this city, therefore only the person who comes to this, lives in this city can buy my ticket. Now it's everybody, across countries, across cities, and across ages who can come and watch you.
So then do you think that, digital is going to be the future as far as, let's say, a lot of performing arts is concerned? Because like you said, reaching a wider audience with one single upload is a great power to have. And Netflix is not just in India, so all over. You have that kind of leverage to reach out to more people. Do you see digital as the future?
See, in fact, it is the future right now. We are in currently the future of what we anticipated, I think 5 years ago, even. And I think it's only going to change the form in which it is going to grow. It's just going to be a different platform. It's going to be, collaborations with 10 other comedians. And suddenly you have, you capture the audience of 9 other comedians who have never seen you before. The future is sort of, I think, and the future of not the craft, but definitely the economics of the craft lies in digital.
Okay, so let's talk about then the economy of comics and being a comedian. Where do you think it goes from here? Because now, like you just said, on stage performance is something that obviously are going to go on. Digital is taking up at a massive speed. You have OTT platforms, so you're streaming everywhere. You kind of have one hand dipped in every single cake. So where does then the economy of comedy goes from here?
Gee, I mean, here's hoping the economy of comedy goes straight in my pocket. But I think that the future is more diverse voices. I think that because of the internet, because of the accessibility of the internet, because of the way that we can sort of just lift our phones and record something and it can go viral. I think that the future lies in just more diverse voices showing up. For example, we had known that in the middle when there was that TikTok boom, is that there came out a million stars that we would have never followed otherwise. And so I think that actually the future is more people and more interesting people doing comedy, more interesting perspectives.
Yeah, also different ways of doing comedy, right? Because now you have influencers on the internet that are doing comedy via reels. So these are 30-second comedians in a sense that are not creating or curating, full sets, but they're doing their 30-second comedy, and that is something that is, taking up. So kudos to you and Aditi, for catching up on that trend so quickly, because when it comes to digital media, everything is just changing rapidly, right?
I'll be honest, Parvi, when the lockdown started, I was one of those people that was like, please, I don't do all this online Zoom and all. I'm an artist, okay? I like connecting with my audience live, please. Main aisa nahi karti. Literally, I think 10 days into that pandemic, I was like, rehndo sab kuch, everyone meet me live on Instagram at 4 o'clock. मैं अपने बाल काटूंगी live. मैं अपने कुत्तों को खिलाऊंगी live. Please come. So it really did change everything overnight and rapidly.
And now, it's sort of turned the tables also, because now you're not first a performer and then an influencer or comedian. Now you're first an influencer comedian and then you go on to, sort of be an on-stage performer. So that is also something that is changing. So then, do you think that the generation that is now starting out on the internet, for them, the experience of being a comedian is going to completely change?
Do I agree with you. I think that the experience of what comedy is going to change completely. Though I do think there is still merit in sort of the live aspect of it, right? And I think that as I was saying, I worry that your average becomes your representation. Whereas when you're able to be live, when you're able to spend some time working on a joke or spend some time working on a set, is when you are able to hone your art in a more sort of holistic manner and put out something more thoughtful and more worked upon into the world. Having said that, 100% you are right. I know that some of my favorite influencers, I would watch them do anything. It doesn't even matter what they do. I would watch them do anything. If I knew that they were honestly, if they were on this show with me right now, I would have been like, yes, unko hi baat karne do. Mere ko dekhna hai.
Yeah, absolutely. It is actually, it's completely transforming, especially the way that we see comedy. Okay, so before we let you go, Aditi, I have just one last question for you. And this is, for people out there that are looking to be comedians and influencers in a certain sense. What do you think they should do if, let's say, they want to be a comedian or a comic artist? What is the first step that they can take?
So I will give you 2 tips. Okay. One is find a or get to know yourself better, right? Because then you will be able to either develop a persona for the public, and with the way online things are, you'll be able to even wear that persona well enough that people will think it's you. That's one. And two, this I will say, and I will get horribly beaten up, but know the right people. Put yourself out there. Put yourself out there and ask for things that you want. You want to collaborate with someone? Message them. Say, hey, would you be interested in doing a collab? You see that your favorite artist is in the city? Go watch a show and then tweet at them. Say, hey, that was really great. Do you want to do a collab? Or I really like this, or let's do this. Ask for what you want and really think about who you are and what you want to put out into the world. Those are the two things.
So getting in touch with the community, you're saying, is very important right now.
Yes.
Be it especially for budding comedians. All right. Thank you so much, Aditi, for joining us on Influencer A-List. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And more
Thank you. Thank you, Parvi.
An entertainer, YouTuber, and dynamic content creator.
What changed was one reel which I made on my mom giving me rice instead of pizza.
He's winning hearts with reliable content.
I feel like the energy a creator has, the audience can sense.
NewsX influencer A-List proudly recognizes Agastya Shah for influence in relatable content creation. Hello and welcome. You're joining us on NewsX Influencer A-List. I'm Parati Bhanot, and with us today is a teenage social media heartthrob, Agastya Shah. Agastya, firstly, thank you so much for joining us on NewsX Influencer A-List, and a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this.
So, Agastya, if I can just quickly begin by, taking my first question from you. We did some research and realized that, you took a small break for about an year in between after starting off on your social media journey. So then, why start again? What is it that changed before and versus when you decided to restart and take that plunge again?
So what happened was I took a break because of my 12th board exams. I'm still in university. And what happened was Instagram Reels really played a huge part because I got a lot of free time because of the quarantine and the lockdown. Plus, partnered with Instagram Reels really helped me boost it. And I think what changed was one reel which I made on my mom giving me rice instead of pizza really like blew up, got like 4.5 million views and like 500,000 likes and half a million likes. And I think that's what really like changed the game for me.
So, Agastya, tell us a little more about that first reel that you made, that you were just talking to us about, that pizza reel. What was it all about? What was the kind of content that you had put out via that reel?
So I got the idea from a real life incident that happened just the day before, when my mom promised me I could order Domino's pizza, but then she gave me khichdi because of some reason. And then I was like, this can be a very relatable thing that it must have happened to everybody. Let's make a video on this. And I made it like in my room only over here, just on a regular day. And it ended up blowing up, getting like 4 or 5 million views and like 500,000 likes. So that was like my first big reel.
So, if I may, how is it that social media makes you feel? I mean, all the videos that you put out, you're extremely energized and, you try to obviously bring a smile to the faces of people that are watching all of your reels and videos. But how is it that social media makes you feel?
I don't know. It's just I feel very me when camera's on me, when a camera's even not on me, and I feel like the energy a creator has, the audience can sense, and that is why I feel like I need to bring the energy to my audience, because ultimately my goal is to make their day and to make them happy when they see my videos, and energy really plays a huge role in that for me. So I just push whatever I have when I'm shooting to kind of get the most entertaining and best content I can.
All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about then what has changed since you've become a social media influencer? Because, there are so many people out there that are following you, that are really appreciating the work that you're doing. So what is it like to be a social media influencer? Are your DMs flooded? Are people recognizing you on the streets? What is it like?
I mean, I wouldn't really call myself an influencer. Like in my mind, I'm really just like a boy making videos because he loves to. and even when I didn't have the followers or anything like that. But yeah, things have definitely changed. I have so many people appreciating my content, which really feels good. And I really take like the time out to reply to every person who how many ever DMs I can, because just seeing the messages, they encourage me and they make me feel so good that my content is actually helping so many people and making so many people happy, which was the goal behind me making my content. It was to provide a stress buster and like kind of a relief for Gen Z and college students like myself. That is the goal, and I'm happy that it's being accomplished.
All right. So, Agastya, then the next question that I want to ask you is just a tad bit more serious. What was it like to be a digital content creator? Was it ever difficult to put yourself out there? Because it's one thing to be on the internet, right? There are faceless people that are going to troll you or that are going to come at you. But when it comes to, being in school or being in university, there are people that are in your physical proximity who have the kind of, let's say, clout or power to kind of bully you, if I may say so. So was it ever, daunting to go out there and take that first step and become a social media sensation or even start putting out content at first?
Okay. So definitely I did. Every school has that bunch of people who kind of pull anybody down just because they're being like themselves or like, being different and not fitting in the box that is built. And I think whenever I started making videos on the internet, people were like, hey, Agastya, why are you posting it? Like nobody's watching it. There are definitely going to be people like that. And for the people who are watching this and are making digital content and are facing such bullies, just remember that you're pursuing what you love doing, and those bullies are only bullying you and pulling you down because deep down they don't have the courage to actually follow what their heart says, and that is why they're getting the joy from pulling you down. So always believe in yourself and know that you're going to make it if you keep putting in like the work, or like just not listening to these people, because they're those people who just peak in high school and then like it really won't matter at the end of the day. Just keep making videos and be focused on what you want. I don't think anything else should kind of disturb you from that thing. Yeah, just ignore them. Yeah, they're just people who aren't happy.
All right. So before we wrap this up, Agastya, I want you to tell us, actually, our viewers, very quickly, what are your immediate goals? So in the next 2 years, let's say, because 5 years is a very long time, but in the next 2 years, what is it that you want to achieve?
Okay, so how the last 5 months have been for me, from going to 2K to 240K in 5 months, I can't really imagine what 2 years will look like for me, because just these short-term goals, like I had set a goal of 10,000 by the year end, and I was at like 200,000 by the year end. Like things have gone wild. And for me, short-term goal is just creating the content I love making, while creating the content my audience loves watching, and finding the correct balance between that. So I love what I do, plus the audience loves what they consume. And in terms of long-term goals, it's diversifying my content and providing more meaningful content that can actually impact people's lives on Instagram, YouTube, or any other platform that I can. It's just about making people happy, and making people happy and inspiring them, and just helping them in literally any way I can. So that is kind of the long-term goal.
All right. Thank you so much, Agastya, for joining us on NewsX Influencer A-List. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. More power to you, and keep growing, keep shining.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Popularly known as Gigi by her loyal followers.
And I'm larger, like I want it to be larger than life. I want it to be a title.
Her content is relatable, funny, and quirky.
If you resonate with it, you don't need to know my name. You just need to enjoy what I'm providing.
NewsX Influencer A-List proudly recognizes that Indian chick for influence in relatable content creation. Hello and welcome. You're joining us on NewsX Influencer A-List. I'm Paradeep Bhanot, and joining us on the show today is that Indian chick. Now, she refuses to let us know her name, but she is Gigi for most of you out there that are watching this interview. Thank you so much, Gigi. I'm going to have to call you for being with us. And welcome to NewsX.
Thanks so much for having me. And so name has been something that people are so curious about. And I think half the people only watch me because they're just so curious.
Tell us, why not? Why is your
all the money that I make on the internet, whatever amount it is, 80% of it goes into cleaning my digital footprint so that no one ever finds out my name.
What are you scared of? Why
Okay, so it's not like I'm not scared. It's just something that, for me, it was always about creating an online identity.
Yeah.
And I'm larger, like I wanted to be larger than life. I wanted to be a title. And as a kid, like I always wanted that, like a stage name. I would find stage names really cool and that mystery behind it. So part of it is the theatrics and the drama in me that is not making me reveal my name. And the second is, of course, privacy. I may not seem like it, but I'm a very private person. I'm very guarded about me and my family. And on the internet, like everything, like I said, everything has a digital footprint. If someone knows my name, they will know where I worked. They will know and there have been instances where I have spoken up about things and I have been people have found out where I work. So it was just a really scary situation. So I feel that if you like my content, if you resonate with it, you don't need to know my name. You just need to enjoy what I'm providing for you, and that's it.
And that Indian chick has worked out really well, right? Because that Indian chick or Gigi, there are people out there that recognize you by that name. So now you have like we were just discussing, you now have a social media alter ego, which is brilliant, right? Which is actually exactly what you wanted to create. So then tell me something, as far as your digital media journey is concerned, now in the past couple of months, you've grown exponentially. And you said that you've been working and you've been doing this for years now. Tell us everything that you've dabbled with a little bit.
I started in school when there was this whole British YouTuber craze going on, Ryan Higa and Alfie Days. And it was so fascinating for me because, exactly. So that whole world was really, because it was so out of my reach, it was really fascinating. And I've always wanted to be an entertainer. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just loved making people laugh everywhere I went. So I thought that, okay, this is a great space for me to just put myself out there. And it started with that. It was nothing about audience building or money making or whatever. It was just a hobby and it was just something I really enjoyed doing. Then I came to college and I started, experimenting with theater in college. So that translated to, again, YouTube, where I started doing sketch comedy.
Yeah.
After that, I started working. So I started professionally working for a company where I had to make videos for them. So again, that changed. So because there I was supposed to review films, but I wasn't supposed to say anything bad about those really shitty films. And I was just dying to tell people that these movies are really bad. So then I started taking out all that frustration on my channel and I started posting movie reviews, actual honest movie reviews on my channel. And that's how my content sort of kept evolving. And now here I am.
So what is it like, now that there are so many young people that are in fact following you, that resonate with the kind of content that you put out? I'm sure, you go out into, let's say, markets and stuff and you're getting recognized. What do they yell out? That Indian chick, hello, what is it like?
Suddenly if I heard Gigi, I'm like, okay, this is not medieval Rajasthan. Nobody actually calls each other Gigi. So, so basically it was an inside joke where I used to refer to myself as Gigi Hadid in jokes. Yeah. And people took it very seriously. So they actually started calling me Gigi as in Jiji, which is a term for sister. Yeah. In when you go to rural India, that's the term for sister. Yeah. And that's how I think I see myself. I see myself as that cool older sibling who gets you out of trouble and stands up for you and just tells you that it's okay, I'm here, I've been through the same thing. We're in this together.
There's so many people that are giving you all that love back, right? What is it like to have all these people that are, commenting and that are, telling you that you're really hilarious and you've made their day and, they're saving your content? What is it like?
So, I have massive imposter syndrome. I think a lot of women have this because we don't believe anything that happens to us, which is good. So in the beginning, when I was reading these comments and all, I was like, do they really, is there a prank going on? Are all of them just taking my case? When something is so bad, then you write really nice things about it and then tag your friends. So there's an inside joke.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's a big inside joke that everyone secretly just laughs at me, but they're just like, oh, haha, you're so cool. But then when I started getting recognized in public and when people actually started coming up to me, I was just as starstruck as them. I was equally fascinated that they knew me.
So what is it like, getting called out in markets? What is, let's say your family, your mom or your dad or your elder siblings are out with you. What is their
I
reaction?
want them to be so that they know that I'm doing something important. Because till now they don't understand a professional. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
she sits and does something and she gets money. But what is that something? Like she's cracking jokes. It's not translating in the head. They're like,
Yeah.
थकी हारी घर नहीं आ रही, इसको कोई बॉस की गालियां नहीं मिल रही, इसके पास मतलब क्या कर क्या रही है इसको, how is she doing all this? So when they see people and when they really realize that this is what I do for a living and this is how much people like me and how many people recognize me, I think for me that matters more.
Yeah. So very interesting, that you mentioned, because even my parents, it's the same. If I was making, let's say, reels, they wouldn't understand what I'm doing, right? They'd just be like, what is
Yeah.
this? What is this making faces at the camera? Even if I'm, clicking a picture, they still say it. Why are you sitting and making faces at your phone?
Yeah.
What is the reaction like? And what do you tell them? What is it that you do on the internet?
So I tell them that I create content.
Yeah.
And like before this, I'm also a screenwriter. So for them, like a writer, still they understand. They're like, okay, she writes something that gets made into something and that gets her money. They understand. They're like, she says something on her phone, then who is paying her? So I had to explain to them what is branding, like audience, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Like what I do, how is that like great? How important is it having an audience? So they like for them like 1,20,000 is a big figure. They can't just understand how through one phone I'm reaching that many people. Yeah. So they are on social media, but with them it's just like Facebook, WhatsApp, and all. With influencers, it's like a whole different world.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long, okay, so, coming back to the entire conversation surrounding influencers, how long did it take you to monetize your content? Of course, 8 years you've been doing this, but in the last couple of months, you were just telling me that in the quarantine time, you actually gained so much traction. What has the growth been like, and how long did it take you then to monetize your content once you had that kind of engagement?
I have been extremely fortunate to have an agent who actually has been looking out for me like some sort of like a guardian angel, because in this market it's like people think we're kids, right? So whether it's an internship or whether it's this influencer marketing, a lot of people, they think that we like, because we're starting out and we don't know much. Like I didn't know much about this world. All I was doing was creating content. People think that when then they show you a figure which is like much less than what you deserve. But because for any random working person, that figure is a decent amount, they feel that the influencer should be happy with that. And that's how they sort of like refrain from like letting you understand the dynamics, because they need you more than you need them. And that takes some time to understand that in the beginning, if you say no to a few things, then in the longer run, you're gaining much more. Because if you say yes to lesser, like as an intern, if you agree for a paid internship, then that sets the precedent or the bar very low.
Yeah, and you also
it's
don't
all
value
about
that, right? You're never able to put the right value to your work in that way.
Absolutely.
You're just like, maybe this is what I deserve, and maybe I should just, go with this.
Yeah, exactly. Like in my case, I was fortunate enough that I was working side by side. So I didn't really think about the money aspect. I thought more about value building. A lot of people, because they feel like, because they're like, this is their job. So they feel that they need to sort of sometimes let go of it. But that actually is not like a good thing in the longer run, because that sets the bar very low for you.
So, were you ever, approached by brands, and was it difficult for you to make those choices? Because initially when you start out, be it any field, in fact, not just as an influencer, you don't know how much to dip your toe in the water and how much to not dip your toe. Did you face those kind of challenges initially?
I did, because then the thing is, then like if one brand comes and then you sort of think about what are your values, and then you figure out like how to align your value system with the brand's value system. Now, in my value system, there are things which are like strict no-nos. Like I am not going to promote fairness creams. I'm not going to promote like slimming teas. Like these are things which are a no-no for me, because I feel like they are to a point unethical, and to a point they're not okay, and they're like promoting harmful beauty standards and toxic beauty. So I think it just depends on like what is my value system. If I feel that the brand goes with, and of course, like there are times where I have like done a brand deal and I have realized in hindsight that, okay, this, I could have done this in a different way. So what I'm really like, I don't know, brands probably hate working with me for this, but I'm just really particular about the fact that I am writing my own content and you have no control over it. You tell me what you want and I will do it my way. You are not going to tell me how to do that, because I am the one who has a relationship with my audience. And I don't want your taglines or your, you know, like in your face promotion to like, you don't pay me.
Also because you are what your followers make you, right? Because it is the community that is building you up. So you have to think about the community and the message that you're sending out before you think of, let's say, a partnership. And I think that also comes with a certain privilege of, you know, having something else to fall back on. What about those people, you know, who don't have, or content creators that are just starting out, that want to do this full time, but don't have a plan B? What would your advice be to them?
So, I mean, like I was in two minds myself, because I had a job, right, when this started picking up, and there came a point where I knew I had to put everything into this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to go to that next level. So I decided to quit. So I feel like if you have the financial support or you have that backing, then take the plunge, because it's worth it. If you don't have that financial backing, then the best you can do is to be as consistent as you can. Meanwhile, having things that support you. Like this friend of mine, like he's also a content creator, Nick. So he's like, up until 3 years ago, he had like 3 jobs. Like he was working 3 jobs, because he's like, that was my livelihood. So he was bartending. He was like, you know, into events, I think. And then he was just also doing like gigs on the side, me all the while creating content. So he's like, till such time as I could afford the proper salary for each and every of my team members, I was working. So for me also, like this is not my only thing. I'm also a screenwriter. So I'm writing for a living. So it's never depend whether it's an influencer, whether you're a normal person with a job, never depend on one livelihood or one flow of income. Always have a side hustle.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us on the show. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you. And we look forward to the day when you let all of us get to know your true name. Being with us.
Thank you so much for having me and the great conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.